Hey gang, hopefully things are going well in the anatomy world. We are getting ready to start a new unit. This is the skeletal system. And before we start IDing bones and talking about markings, we need to talk about the makeup of bone and bone tissue and how bone's made, how it's maintained, and so on and so forth. We're also going to discuss the functions of the skeletal system and what it does for us. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, today we're going to start talking about bone tissue. So we won't worry about identifying bones or markings on bones. Today we're going to get down into how bones are formed and their general features. So let's go ahead and get started. Your skeletal system has 5 important functions. Number 1, it is to provide support by acting as a structural framework and assist body movements. Typically, this is where people will try to cut corners and say that one of the things the skeleton provides is movement. The skeleton does not provide movement. Muscles provide movement, but the skeleton provides a framework for muscles to pull against. They provide the leverage that the muscles need to pull against. So if you just have muscles and no bones, you would be a quivering bag of protein lying on the floor. If you have bones and no muscles, then you stand there in the corner of the room the way Frank stands in the back of my corner in the room and never ever moves because he has no muscles. So they provide the framework, not the movement themselves. They're there for protection, primarily a lot of the internal organs. For example, the brain is totally encased in bone and is very well protected. The lungs, very soft and delicate tissues, are housed within the rib cage or thoracic cavity. And those are just a few examples. Also, your bones will store and release salts of calcium and phosphorus. Everybody knows that bones are primarily made of calcium. Participate in blood cell production. Your red blood cells are unnucleated, so they simply can't divide to make more blood cells through mitosis. They have to be grown, and they are grown in the bone marrow found inside the bones, and that process is called hematopoiesis. They will store triglycerides in adipose cells, which, as we know, stores fat, and we'll find that in the yellow marrow. Bone is dynamic tissue. It is always being remodeled, reshaped. It is being built up and broken down. My analogy is your skeletal system is under a constant state of renewal. It has been said that no matter how old you are, no part of your skeleton is more than 10 years old. My analogy is the road construction. If you travel around this country, no matter where you go, you will always find the roads are under construction. I have never traveled somewhere or I've never been told, hey, congratulations, America, all the roads are done. You can drive construction free. They're always under construction. And whenever they finish with the road, then they have to go somewhere else and start working on another road. It's just constant renewal and work. Your skeleton is the same way. It is just always being renewed and upgraded by taking away old bone matrix and putting down new. Like all organ systems, as part of an even larger musculoskeletal organ system, the skeletal system is made of several different tissues. The 2 major tissues that we find in the skeletal system are bone and cartilage. And since we have been through the tissues unit, we should know the difference between the two. Bone is highly vascularized connective tissue, means it has a very extensive blood supply, as we can see in the picture below. It has a hard mineralized extracellular matrix and is found in the body in 2 different arrangements. There is compact bone and there is spongy bone. Compact bone is most of the bone in this graphic is compact bone. So as we look here, all of this area is compact bone. Spongy bone is this network of bone right there. And we will, over the next few slides, we will talk about the difference. Compact bone is good at providing protection and support. It forms the diaphysis of long bones. The diaphysis is the middle section of a long bone and the external layer of all bones. So even if it is an area of spongy bone, the outside portion will be made of compact bone. Spongy bone is lightweight and provides tissue support. It forms much of the epiphysis, which are the ends of the bones, and the internal cavity of long bones. Cartilage, this, as we remember hopefully from the tissues unit, this is hyaline cartilage, as you can see down here because of the Google eyes. Remember, that was the identifying mark. Cartilage is poorly vascularized. This is why it does not heal very well. It has very little blood supply. It has a matrix composed of chondroitin sulfate and various fibers. Fiber types will distinguish hyaline cartilage, which it covers the ends of the bones, from fibrocartilage, which is what makes up your intervertebral discs and the small piece of cartilage between the pelvic bones called the pubic symphysis. Those are fibrocartilage. And elastic cartilage. And elastic cartilage, if you remember, is going to make up your nose and your ears. It's that very soft, pliable kind of cartilage. Articular cartilage is at the ends and covers the ends of the bones. This is made of hyaline cartilage. It covers the epiphysis of the bones, again, the ends. Articular cartilage is found where bone forms an articular surface or a joint. So anywhere you have a bone that joins another bone, that is called an articular surface. So where your the head of your femur fits into the socket in your pelvis, that is an articular surface. And both of those bones will be covered. The ends where they articulate with each other will be covered with hyaline cartilage. Anywhere we have a bone moving against another bone. That cartilage helps create a friction-free, smooth surface. And when that cartilage wears out, it's very painful, and typically those people will receive joint replacement surgery. The periosteum is a tough sheath of dense, irregular connective tissue on the outside of the bone. It covers and protects the bone. It will contain osteoblasts. These are very particular cells that lay down new bone material. So if you ever are injured or there is stress or trauma to the bone, it will respond by making that area of the bone stronger and thicker. And the osteoblasts are what do that. When you lift weights, you put stress and tension on your bones. And because the muscles pull on the bones, that will cause your body to make your bones bigger and thicker to help alleviate that stress. It also assists with fracture repair and serves as an attachment point for tendons and ligaments. The medullary cavity is the hollowed out portion of the middle, is the space within the diaphysis or middle section of the long bone that contains fatty yellow bone marrow in adults. The endosteum is a membrane that lines the inside of that open area, that medullary cavity. So periosteum is going to be covering the outside of the bone. The endosteum is going to be covering the inside of the bone. The endosteum is composed of osteoclasts, osteoblasts, and connective tissue. So the osteoblasts lay down new matrix, bone matrix. Osteoclasts eat the old bone matrix away. Osteoblasts are bone building cells. They synthesize and secrete collagen fibers and other organic components, as I just said on the last slide. Osteocytes are a mature bone cell. They help maintain a bone during its life, and the osteoclasts are large bone breakdown cells. They're the ones that clear the old bone matrix away. They are a type of white blood cell. Osteoclasts migrated from bone marrow to become fixed macrophages, which means they don't move in the substance of bone, and they're the ones that clear the old bone matrix away again. So osteoblasts lay down new, osteoclasts clear old bone away. Beside bone and cartilage, the skeletal system contains other important tissues. We find epithelial tissue. The endothelium forms the capillary walls inside of the bone, the blood vessels inside the bone. There are nerves. The periosteum is especially tender. If you've ever broken a bone, you know there are nerves in there. The red marrow is the site of red blood cell production, or hematopoiesis, and yellow marrow is an area of fat storage. And that is going to be enough for today. All right, that should do it for video lesson 1 on the skeletal tissue. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.